Hello there. In this video, I am going to show you how to digitize a bow for one of those side bow sweatshirts that are so popular right now. If it looks like I'm sitting in a chair and not at a desk, it's true. I'm just very comfortable right now here in my chair, and I'm going to turn off my alerts right now so they won't distract us. Now, getting back to the digitizing part. First of all, this is an image, a free, royalty-free graphic that I just copied and pasted into Embrilliance. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scale it up to be about the size I want it to be ultimately, which I think is going to be about like 7 inches or so. So let's move my head. If I select this, I can see that the size is 3 and 11/16. So let's make this. I'm just going to drag the corner and scale it up. And I'm watching the measurements up at the top. And now it's about 7.5 inches. Okay, that'll work. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into create mode here. And then I'm going to grab this drawing tool, this draw with points tool. And I'm just going to digitize this shape by just clicking around it. And I am going to make a raw edge applique. I think I'm going to stop there, and I will just I think I want to keep this an open shape, to be honest. And actually, let's just keep going. We're going to just I want it to be like maybe a little bit, these tails to be a little bit longer than this illustration. And I know that's not perfect here, but that's okay. So that kind of gets the outside of the bow. And like I said, I want this to be an open shape. So I'm just going to click away, go back to it, and I'm going to start editing my points here. Let's make this match the shape a little bit more. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here, and I'm going to manipulate these points. So I am going to kind of go into select mode, and then once I click back on it, got to get back in create mode. Now that I get back into it, I can manipulate these points to match the curve that I want to match. So here we have an anchor point and handle, and I'm just going to manipulate that. Now if I wanted to have handles on this one, I could right click on it and say curved, and I would achieve those handles that I could manipulate some more. But my curve looks pretty good. It's a little hard to see right now what exactly it's going to look like. So we're going to put a stitch line on here. This I definitely need to fix. So I'm going to click on this point here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say cusp. And what that will do is it'll allow me to kind of take these handles and not make it kind of a smooth curve. It's more like a point. And I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'll make this a cusp. Okay. And make this a cusp. Okay. Kind of like the way that curve looks right there. And so like I said, it's a little hard to see right now. So I can attach a stitch line to it, attach stitches to it, and now it's a lot easier to see. Okay, I like that. That looks good. So let's draw this other piece right here. Again, I can draw with points, and I'm just gonna click, 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 click. And I want to get back to edit it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'll hit enter. And once I hit enter, then I can start manipulating it. And again, we can't really see what we're doing here until we apply some stitches to this line. It's just like a vector shape until we apply the stitches. Okay, and by default, I happen to have a bean stitch selected, which is actually kind of what I want. So, because this is a symmetrical object, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this and select this, these two shapes or these two lines that I've drawn, and I'm going to go out of create mode and I'm just going to do edit, copy, edit, paste. And so now I have another version on top of that one. And then I'm going to hit this little reflect button and I'm going to move that shape over there. Okay. And then the last thing I need to do is to draw that in between piece. Okay, so let's go back to create mode, and I'm just going to do my best to kind of mimic this shape. And when I want to make a closed shape, then I will click on this button here to close it. And again, that's not exactly what I want shape-wise, but I can go and manipulate those points to kind of make them represent the shape a little bit better. And you know, this is I don't have to make it match perfectly this this silly illustration. I can do whatever the heck I want, but I do want it to kind of be symmetrical. So let's put some stitches on this so we can see better what it's looking like. And this looks a little wonky. So we're just moving these anchor points and handles. So an anchor point is a point on the path, whereas these handles are control the direction of the path. All right, so this is a little wonky, but let's see what that looks like. Let's put some stitches on there. Yeah, it is wonky. I think these might need to be cusped. I'm going to right click and make them cusped, and then I can kind of get those pieces to be straighter. So let's take these corner points that I created, make them cusps, and straighten that out, and do the same over here, cusp, and make this a cusp. All right, so now I have all of these bits and pieces, and I would, let's save the work so far. I'm just going to put this on my desktop for now, and I'm going to call this bow applique raw edge. Okay, so it's not going to stitch in a great order. Actually, this first one is going to start here and it's going to end here. And then the next piece is, then it would have to jump over here and do that. And then, so it's kind of going in a random order. Now what I could do is I could take this left side piece and move it up, and so then I could make it go from green to red, and then for this piece I could go from green to red. Okay, that's not bad. And then I could do the middle piece. So let's make that next, and I would want to start it here, and can I end it here, and then do this line over here. Whoops, no, over on the other side. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to intelligently move start and end places so that I don't have a bunch of jump stitches. Now, okay, and then the last piece is this. I would have a jump at the end as it moves over to here. Well, what I can do, a couple things I can do. First of all, in level 2 or 3, I believe it is, in Embrilliance, you have something called branching. And if I click the branching button, it takes care of that for me. So now it's just going to stitch from start to finish and without the jump stitches. And if we watch what that stitch out looks like, it's pretty smooth. It's pretty slow. So it's going, it's not jumping all over the place. It finds a way to do all of these elements in a continuous way so you don't have jump stitches. But the way that I fixed it before I moved over to branching pretty much did the same thing. It was just much more manual. Okay, so if I'm going to make it an applique, with a raw edge applique, I usually have 2 rounds of stitching. One is the placement stitching, and then the second is this final raw edge that you're going to create. So what I need to do is I need to take these shapes here, so all of my stitching, I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to change its color to something different. Let's just make it pink, okay. And I'm going to make this a single stitch. Right now my pink stuff is happening after my yellow stuff, so I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to click on it and say move first. Okay, so now my stitching is going to do just the entire bow, a single stitch, and then it'll do, you would lay your fabric down and then it will do the raw edge. So I'll take this over to the embroidery machine now and show you how this is going to stitch out. Okay, now that we have the design digitized, let's test stitch it out. So I'm going to pull it up right here. I already have it. I have to use my largest hoop because I made it really big. I am happy with the location, and let's just start sewing this. All right, I don't really care about stitch color because I'm just testing it. So let's just say okay. Now this is the placement stitching. Okay, now I'm going to lay my applique fabric over my placement stitching, and it is just barely large enough. And then we will start the next round of stitching. Yeah, it's going to stitch out blue, and that's fine. So we will go ahead and start it. Okay, now you can see my test stitching is done. I actually stopped it when I was stitching it out because the fabric was getting a little buckled, so I just taped it down here. And my digitizing is not perfect. I would extend these little ends of these lines over a little bit, but overall I think it looks pretty good. Now with the raw edge applique, if we were to do this on a sweatshirt, this would be, we would cut the edge of the sweatshirt and this. And then when we get over to this side here, at this point, we would, this would be on the sweatshirt itself, so we would just trim it right here, like that. Whereas, that's a terrible trimming job, but I would get real close right there and leave that raw edge. When I got to this point, I would cut through the sweatshirt and the applique material. So that's how I would digitize this. I will follow up with a video actually making the sweatshirt. So look forward to that.